On January 11th this year, Korean-American golfer Chan Kim made his first ever start on the PGA Tour at the ripe age of 33. This comes after stints on tours all over the world, including the Canadian Tour, the European Challenge Tour, the Asia Tour, the Japan Tour, and the Korn Ferry Tour in the US. This earned him the nickname Mr. Worldwide in pro golf circles. He eventually earned his ticket to the PGA Tour after clinching second place on the Korn Ferry Tour standings last year. But despite his belated arrival on the Premier Circuit, he was chosen by Sports Illustrated as one of the breakout golfers to watch in 2024. He joins us now via video call to tell us about his story for this week's Touch Base in Seoul. Mr. Kim, hello and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you with us. First of all, congratulations on your PGA Tour qualification. You've already now played 2 events, including one in Hawaii, where you grew up. How does it feel to be out there now on the circuit?
Yeah, it's always been a really big goal of mine, and to finally achieve it, obviously, no words can express how happy I am and how grateful I am. Sony was my first event. I had played the event before, just not as a full member on the PGA Tour. And so for my first tournament as an official PGA Tour member, to be back where I grew up, it was very special. Didn't make the cut. I missed by 1, but I had a really good week last week, and looking forward to carrying that over into this week at Torrey Pines.
Sure, of course, the results for your first outing on the PGA Tour wasn't what you had hoped, but still, I'm sure your family and friends must have been delighted. I understand your childhood golf coach, who's now in his late 80s, came out onto the course to watch you make your debut as well a couple of weeks ago.
He did. Coach Les Uehara, he's the first coach I had when I grew up and started playing golf. He came out actually to do an interview with me for the PGA Tour at the All-White Golf Course, which is where I grew up playing. And so, it was very special to have him there. I had a whole bunch of family friends out there, some of my friends that I played junior golf with out in Hawaii. And so, it was a very, very special event, and that's one event I will probably play every year if I get the opportunity to.
Indeed, and as I mentioned at the start, you've certainly come the long way around to get to the PGA Tour. So you're born in Suwon, Korea, but you grew up in Hawaii before playing collegiate golf in Arizona. But then you spent the next 12 years playing on tours overseas. So what took you on that journey? What made you go overseas to find your opportunities, including most notably in Japan, where you spent, I believe, 7 seasons out there, right?
8 seasons, I believe. It might be 7.
Right.
I've actually lost count as well. So, I've tried Korn Ferry Tour Q School, which was web.com back in the day. I've tried it many times. Didn't make it through, unfortunately, but I didn't want to waste, a full season waiting for my next opportunity. I wanted to make sure that I could at least play on some tour to gain some experience, some knowledge, playing against some of the best in the world. And I honestly believe that that's one of the reasons that has helped me to elevate my game to get on the PGA Tour.
Right. I imagine, yes, you would have had a lot of interesting experiences out there, but what was that like? I'm sure there must have been some tough days as well.
The traveling's always been tough, especially on the European Challenge Tour. And, for Japan, we had a lot of tournaments in a row, so I would stay there for consecutive weeks, consecutive months. So that wasn't too bad. When I played the Asian Tour, I was also playing the European Challenge Tour, and sometimes I would have to fly from Asia to Europe and fly back and play the week after in Asia. So that was obviously very, very tough. Sometimes, it's hard to go out and eat. I'm not a very picky eater, but there was just some choices that I didn't really like, and I choose to go to McDonald's rather than have dinner at some restaurants. So those are pretty tough. The traveling was definitely number one thing. Having to try and get a visa every week for every tournament. and then the cost of flying over there, the hotel fees and whatnot. So if it wasn't for my parents supporting me throughout all those years, I honestly don't think I would have even made it this close. So yeah, I'm very thankful for my parents and for their support throughout the years, and hopefully, I can start repaying them back now.
Right, despite all those hardships, you did find success, particularly in Japan, notably winning 8 times out there. But then what made you want to leave the Japan tour and give Q School another shot, the qualifying tournament in the US, which eventually put you on the path to the developmental Korn Ferry Tour?
Yeah, so what my goal was in Japan was to try and get my world ranking inside the top 50 and try to get a couple of starts on the PGA Tour, and try and get on the PGA Tour that way. And at the end of 2022, excuse me, the world ranking points changed, the whole system changed. The Korn Ferry Tour actually went from 25 cards to 30 cards. And so I just felt like it was a great opportunity. I was going to go straight to final stage anyways. And, I figured, 1 year of sacrifice on the Korn Ferry Tour to try and get my PGA Tour card is not a bad deal at all, especially, like I said, with 30 cards. And I decided that I wanted to make that leap and give it a go. And it was kind of like a last straw thing for me. I kind of told myself, okay, if I may give myself 2 more chances at the Korn Ferry Tour Q School, and if I don't make it, I may just play in Japan full time. It was enough to make a decent living, and I got married last December, or 2022 December, and yeah, I needed a stable income, and Japan was providing that very well, and so it was a tough decision, but I knew that, I wanted to play on the PGA Tour, and I had to come and risk it and try.
Right, your dream ultimately was the PGA Tour, but even on the Korn Ferry Tour, you said it wasn't too much of a risk because you felt confident. But I understand even that wasn't plain sailing. You were outside the top 50 on the Korn Ferry Tour points list at one point, but then you eventually got back-to-back wins in 2 events, and then locked up your PGA Tour through that and finished second. What was that period like where you were even at risk of losing your Korn Ferry Tour status?
Yeah, it was nerve-wracking. I believe we had a 7-week stretch. I made the first cut that I missed 3 in a row, and at that point, you're basically fighting to keep your status, not even really focusing on the PGA Tour card. I knew I wasn't far off. I could see the points list. My caddy at the time had the predictions for points to get your PGA Tour card, so I knew how many points I needed, how far off I was. So went over, took a lesson over in Vegas from the Butch Harmon schools with Nick Hellwig. 2 days, I believe, 2 hours a day. Flew over to Omaha, had 1 day to practice, and then went straight into the tournament. Made the cut, which was a huge relief. I think I finished 60 something, but just to make the cut for me, it was towards the right direction. And the week after, I played 3 solid rounds to start. And that final round, the back 9, it was kind of like I was back in Japan playing and trying to win a golf tournament. Those instincts kind of kicked in, and I knew I needed to make birdies. Got those birdies when I needed to, and I think that kind of fueled the fire and helped me the next week in Boise, where I made 28 birdies, I believe, and no bogeys, which is even, for anybody, that's a pretty ridiculous stat, I guess. But yeah, I mean, just winning that first event in New Jersey kind of moved me to, I believe, 12th on the points list at that point. And so it took a lot of pressure off of me, off of my game. And the last couple events, I could just kind of, see if I could improve on those point standings. The last event at Victoria National, in Evansville, Indiana was probably the most pressure-packed tournament because I was so close to being, number one on the points list. I needed a win, but I felt like I could do it at that point. But Ben Cole played really well that week, and I finished half decent at 20th, and I was happy with where I standed, and knew that as long as I get on a PGA Tour and give myself a chance, we'll just have to see what happens.
Looking back at all those years on tours overseas, how do you think that has shaped you as a golfer now? I read in another interview that you said that you would have loved to have qualified at 23, 10 years earlier. But do you think you perhaps would have been ready then? Perhaps were you better prepared now after all that experience overseas?
Yes, I definitely would have loved to have qualified when I was 23. But if I look back on it now, I would have to have the knowledge I have now to have probably played well at that age. Um, back then there was a lot of times where, I would, make equipment changes or just make swing changes when I shouldn't have. And, um, didn't really know how to compete at the highest of levels, but traveling throughout the world, playing, like I said, with some of the best players in the world, gave me more experience, more knowledge. I knew, what I needed to do, what I couldn't do. And so, without all those years of experience, I honestly don't know if I would have been in this position, if I had lacked all of those experiences.
Do you think you'll therefore get to just enjoy it more? That perhaps there'll be slightly less pressure than if you had been 23, that you can appreciate what you have now?
Yes, absolutely. I think that if I had made the tour at 23, it would have been pressure packed. I'm sure some of the younger, guys on tour are dealing with it now, like Tom Kim. I'm sure, there's so many high standards for him. The bar was set so high. And don't get me wrong, he's been performing unbelievably. Great player, great guy. But I don't know. For me personally, if I'd made the tour at that age, I'm not sure if I could have dealt with, the outside pressure that was coming in. So right now, like I said, I'm just happy to be on the tour. Feel truly blessed, and just looking to see what I can do with this opportunity. And like I said, I'm hoping just for a long, steady career on the PGA Tour.
Right, so that was going to be my last question as well. Now that you're on the tour, what do you hope to achieve? Are you really raring to go?
Yeah, obviously the goal is to reach number one in the world. That I think that's every golfer's dream. And if that's not your dream, I don't think that you have any business playing professional golf. Um, I definitely love to win. I've said this in Japan too, where I would love to win on average a tournament per year, until whenever my career finishes. And this year especially, I would definitely like to. The minimum would be finish inside the top 50 on FedEx Cup points to have access to the elevated events next year and all the majors. But the top priority goal is to try and get inside the top 30 to make the Tour Championship. So that would definitely be one of the biggest goals for this year.
So it seems like there's still fire in you, it seems.
There sure is. I'm not going to go down without a fight. I'm here to compete and win golf tournaments. So there's no. You won't see any back down from me. I'm going to give it my all until the last putt drops on 18 for every tournament, and we'll see where that can take me.
Well, that's amazing to hear. We're out of time, so we're going to have to leave it there. But it's been fantastic to get to know you on the show today. We wish you all the best on the tour this year, and certainly we hope you enjoy it as well. We've been speaking to the latest PGA Tour rookie, Chan Kim. Thank you once again for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on, and thanks for your time.